Now, given the global shift towards renewable energy, how can Nigeria ensure its refineries, including Warri, remain viable in the future? Do you think there is a strategy that they could incorporate green energy practices such as carbon capture or biofuels into the existing infrastructure?
Yes, I was reading something about Norway this morning or yesterday, how they are putting more attention into their oil and gas and only introducing technology to reduce the effect of carbons, right? Carbon capture, sequestration, all of those concepts to ensure that they can make the most of their oil and gas and yet save the environment. Even net zero doesn't mean you completely stop carbons. It just means the carbon you take away from the atmosphere and the carbon you introduce are same quantity so that you have a neutral or a net zero effect. 50 in, 50 out means zero, right? 50 in, 50 out means zero. 50 minus 50 means zero. 80 minus 80 means zero. So that's the idea around net zero, right? It's not completely to decarbonize completely or to not have carbons. And I think because for a just and fair transition, for an equitable, just and fair transition, energy transition, Africa needs to be allowed to grow with its natural resources, oil and gas in particular, right? It's just that technology needs to be introduced, and you would see a lot of data showing or suggesting that Africa or Africa as a whole is even top 10 in emissions, right? And no African country really, in total, whether sub-Saharan Africa in total is less than 4%, So we are not even the problem. So I think that we need to negotiate and we need to be selfish and self-serving when it comes to our energy policy. I think the rest of the world is selfish and self-serving when it comes to energy policy. So we must do the same. We must be self-serving when it comes to energy policy. That's the only way we can make progress. We can industrialize. We can make the most of our resources. Get the bulk, get the much we can, whilst keeping an eye on energy transition, because people would argue that the Stone Age didn't go away because we stopped having stones. It's just that people moved. So we will at some point have to transition and keep an eye on that. But you can have both go on simultaneously. As you're transitioning, you also bear making the most from your currently existing energy resources. And I think that's the way to go. We must be self-serving. We must be like the average European, the average Briton who's doing the British government that going on with gas beats. They had done gas beats, I think in December, sometime last year. And yeah, they're energy transition. So we don't want to have energy poverty and still be talking about transition. And remember the energy trilemma. We need to think about the energy trilemma and ensure that we deal with the issues around security whilst trying to transition and whilst trying to deal with energy poverty at the same time. And energy poverty usually leads to a real poverty, multidimensional poverty. So we need to solve the poverty problem. We need to solve the energy poverty problem. And it's difficult to say you want to completely transition whilst being energy poor, which means your people are going to be poor. So it's not something. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And I think that's the way we should see it, and we should continue to benefit from our existing energy resources.